We are also joined by, now you can see that the webinar is streaming live on YouTube. So welcome everybody to yet another. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, Chairman, sir. Chairman, sir, you will have to unmute yourself.
Press kar raha hu.
Yeah. Sulaiman and Abdullahi, please meet my chairman, Professor Dr. D.K. Bandyopadhyay. I think sir is operating from my HOI's head of the institution's laptop. Perhaps that is why a different name is coming.
Okay.
Yeah, actually now we are preparing for our examination, which is going to take place from day after tomorrow. And due to this COVID, we have got two options we have given, one for online option, another for offline option. Offline option means the students will be coming and taking their examinations in the campus, and online means that they will be appearing the examinations from their home and through some AI based software. So I came over here for that preparations. So thank you, Mr. K.O. Suleiman. Thank you very much. And thank you, Mr. Abdullah, for joining us in this activities. So all your, have been kept in the office. I am in my office. And I invited Dr. Aditya Tomar, where he is top. I welcome you. Welcome you to the Amity universe, and I hope everything is perfect like in Kenya.
Yes, Chairman,
Hello?
sir, with your permission, Chairman, sir, can we start the event? Chairman, sir, with your permission, can we start the event? Can somebody hear me? I mean, Chairman, sir, can we start?
Yes, please start.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. With the permission of the Chair, Honorable Chairman, Amity Law Schools, Noida, I welcome everybody to yet another international guest lecture hosted by Amity Law School at Amity University, Noida. Today, the topic of the webinar is Economic Policy and Legal Framework in Somalia and Africa in the contemporary world. And today we've got two speakers, dear friend Abdullahi Abdi Ado, who's Director, Planning and Economic Development at Ministry of Fisheries and Marine Resources in Somalia, together with dear friend Kweyu Suleiman, who's Mandela Washington Fellow, a renowned economist in Kenya. He's also the Managing Director of Agro Kenya Africa. We are also joined with Chairman, Amity Law Schools, Noida, Professor Dr. D.K. Bandyopadhyay, together with Professor Dr. Aditya Tomar, who is the Additional Director and Head of the institution. We will be shortly joined by Professor Dr. Shefali Raizada. She is also the Additional Director and Joint Head. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've got two speakers. So I will now, I'm seeing that Dr. Aditya Tomar is joining. So I will now hand it over to Professor Dr. D.K. Bandyopadhyay, Chairman, sir. Chairman, sir, as has been decided, Suleiman would be speaking first. Chairman, sir. Oh, yeah, okay. So, you know that sir was talking about our examinations. So, we all are very busy and, the examinations will be held in different modes. So, the meeting is going on. And today, the webinar that we will be having will showcase about the economic policies that are prevalent in Somalia as well as in Africa in different dimensions. How the things are done in Somalia in the contemporary world as well as in Kenya, Africa. So there is a PPT to be shared by, I think, Abdullahi, you also have a PPT?
Yes, I have it, yes.
Okay. So I will first suggest that Chairman, sir, I think is now prepared. So I will request Chairman, sir, to read the profile of Mr. Kweyu Suleiman. And Suleiman, I would request you to share your PPT. Over to Chairman, sir, to read the profile for Suleiman ji.
Sumitra,
Yes, sir.
Can you read the profile of Mr. Suleiman?
Sure, sir. I will do that, sir. Thank
please,
you.
Please do me the favor, okay?
Sure, sir. Sure. So, just a moment. Okay. Thank you, Chairman, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I warmly welcome Mr. Kweyu Suleiman, who is an economist and agriculture specialist in Kenya, Africa. He is a Mandela Washington Fellow at Oklahoma State University, USA, and an MSc in Financial Economics and Banking at Brandenburg University of Applied Sciences, Germany. The founder and CEO of Agro Kenya, which is a non-governmental organization based in Kenya. The mission of this organization is to make the farmers the heroes in agri-food production value chains, and this organization serves to bridge access to knowledge, information, and financial gaps that exclude smallholder farmers from becoming more efficient and productive. The intervention strategies of this organization includes embracing group farming concepts and leveraging on existing basic technologies to reduce drudgery and make farming more gratifying. This organization works with the marginalized, disabled farming communities in Kenya, making them productively engaged in agricultural activities. So, without a further ado, I will now request our dear guest, Mr. Kweyu Suleiman, to take over and present his address. And before that, I would also like to tell Mr. Suleiman that we also have come up with the new concept through our new farming bill. So we will talk about it later. Over to you, Suleiman. You can now share your PPT.
Before Suleiman starts his PPT, let me formally welcome both of them to our Amity universe. And Mr. Suleiman and Mr. Abdullah, you may be knowing that Amity group, which was formed by a very, forward-looking visionary persons, and Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan. And he formed it in the late 90s, early 90s, and at a small group, and the group has grown like anything. We have got 11 universities today in the country. We have got 25 campuses across the world, Mauritius, Australia, UK, Netherlands, then US, Long Island and San Francisco. We have got Abu Dhabi. We have got, the campuses in Vladivostok. We have the campuses in Tashkent. So like that, we have got 25 campuses across the world, and we give lots of emphasis on internationalization. And with that, keeping in mind, with the vision of our founder president, and also the vision which was taken further by his son, who is a very dynamic young chancellor, Dr. Atul Chauhan. He is forwarding his vision of his father and taking it further to achieve the vision of the founder president. And with that vision, we are essentially trying to reach to the different countries and trying to connect with those countries and just try to understand that what is that we can learn from them, and what is that they can learn from us. And with that learning, we try to see that what sort of collaboration, what sort of cooperation, what sort of exchanges with those countries, whether the students can be sent there, their students can come over here, and that is the way how the internationalization process, foreign education institutions, we like to promote. Now this lecture series, which has been actually the brainchild of Dr. Sumitra, that taking Amity to international world and bringing international world to Amity. I mean, this is the buzzword. This is the this is the activity. We wholeheartedly accepted it, and we are trying to promote it under the able guidance of our two additional directors, Dr. Aditya Tomar and Dr. Shefali Raizada. Now Aditya has joined. Aditya not joined. Acha. So I am actually using his his laptop, because I'm not sitting in my office. So that's how he's not able to join. Maybe when I finish it up, he will come and he will welcome you just with a couple of words. So, with this, once again, I welcome you to this Amity universe, and I hope that the time you are going to spend with us, you will be enjoying that, and we shall also learn a lot of things about Kenya, the way things are happening in Kenya, and the way things you propose to do in future in Kenya. So that will be good interactions. So with these few words, now may I request Aditya to welcome you, both of you.
Very good afternoon to Mr. Suleiman and Mr. Abdi Ado. I welcome to the Amity University. I would like to thank Mr. Abdullah Abdi Ado and Mr. Kio Suleiman to spare their valuable time to interact with our student of Amity University. And I hope that this interaction with you will enrich our student knowledge about the African continent, their economic policies and the law. Thank you very much to spare our time. Most welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aditya sir. So, Suleiman and Abdullahi, Dr. Aditya Tomar is our head of the institution and additional director. I will now request Mr. Suleiman to take over. Mr. Suleiman, over to you. You can now share your PPT.
Okay, thank you so much for this valuable opportunity. My name is Akweyo Suleiman. I'm the director at Agro Kenya. I don't know if I'm audible enough. Are you able to hear me clearly, Prof?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, thank you. So I'm the director at Agro Kenya, and the topic today is about economic policy and legal framework in Somalia and in Africa in the current contemporary world. So at Agro Kenya, what we do, we simply support disabled farmers in rural Kenya to make them more productive and more engaged in agricultural activities. And part of the project that we do is we do dairy goats farming, which is relatively cheaper. It requires little space. And given the nature of the farmers, we find it quite affordable for these particular farmers. So before we start our conversation today, I wanted to give you some brief overview of Africa's agricultural potential. So I want to share some information about the agricultural economy of the African continent. So in Africa, agricultural economy employs between 65 to 70% of Africans, and it takes care of about 30 to 40% of the GDP. And then when you look at the population distribution, you find about 70% of the continent's poor people live in rural areas, and agriculture is their main economic activity. And then you find when it comes to the distribution of these particular people age-wise, you find most of the African population, actually 60% of the African population is under the age of 25. And then you therefore know that Africa is the youngest continent on Earth, given the age of the people who live in this particular continent. Then now when it comes to the available arable land in the world, we find we have 60% of the global total arable land in our continent. That means the rest of the world has about 40% of arable land. And then when you come to distribution of the potential, you find that an average farm in Africa is only engaged at about 40% of its potential. So you find that the 60% of this available land, only 40% of it is utilized. The rest is underutilized. So you find this is the potential you have that is actually being underutilized. And then you find 80% of these farms are usually small plots. So they are all small scale farmers. So you find 80% of these are simply small scale, 2 acres and less acreage of land. And then when it comes to unemployment rate, we find the continent has got about 25% unemployment rate, and this is youthful population. So when it comes now to the economic policy, you find as a continent, we have all that it takes to produce enough food and take care of the population, the rising population. But you find we have some underpinning challenges, particularly in agriculture, that makes the continent slightly drag behind the rest of the world. And then when you're discussing now about the economic policy, you find, given that the economies are agricultural based, are being driven by agriculture, you find most of the policies in Africa, you find they don't really support fully agricultural enterprises that could enable these particular governments to support their economies. So I'll also briefly take you through a segment that shows import and export in the African continent. And then you find Africa as a continent is a net food importer. So that's fine. As much as we have enough land, enough arable land, we have enough resources, we have youthful population, which is below 25 years of age. But still, with these particular resources, we still import more food to the continent than we export to the rest of the world. These are questions that I want the listeners and all the panel members to think about. With all these available resources, how are we not able to produce enough food that could support the rest of the world? If you look at the statistics, you find from 1995 all the way to 2016, you find we are not doing fairly well, because from 2006 to about 2015, you find we are not able to produce sufficiently to feed the rest of the world. That's a question to think about. So when we got now the legal underpinning, we find that we have now the governance framework, the financial support services to agriculture, land ownership, youth, and research development capacity are the legal underpinnings that are actually undermining the continent's ability to support the rest of the world. So I think I will pause there for my friend to pick over. Back to you, Sumitra.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Suleiman. And now I will now request Mr. Abdullahi. Before Mr. Abdullahi takes it over, I would like to read his small profile that I have with me. So before that, I would also like to tell all everyone who has joined us today that today in the attendee list, we've got many people who have also joined us from Somalia and Africa. Thank you so much, our international friends. for joining us in this international lecture series. Ladies and gentlemen, in the international lecture series today, we've got two guests, and we just had the lecture by Mr. Suleiman. And now I will request Mr. Abdullahi to take it over. So Mr. Abdullahi Ado is the Director of Planning and Economic Development at the Ministry of Fisheries and Marine Resources at Somalia. And he has been a project manager, trainer, institutional development professional since many years, and has worked throughout assisting private sector entities with economic policy and strategic drafting and capacity building. Previously, he was working with the UNFAO as the Technical Implementation Committee Chair to the Coastal Community Against Piracy project. He is also a member of the National Economic Roadmap Committee of Somalia. He's had many publications with the National Fisheries Policy, reorganization and modernization of the Ministry of Fisheries and Marine Resources. With utmost respect and much regards, I will now request dear friend Mr. Abdullahi Ado, Director Planning and Economic Development at the Ministry of Fisheries and Marine Resources, Somalia, to take over. Mr. Abdullahi.
Hello, good morning, Suleiman, to my neighbor, friend, brother, and also good afternoon for everyone, for those who are in India. I would like to extend my sincere congratulations to the Amity University, who have managed to all of us here. And I just would like to start a small presentation on the economic policy and legal framework in Somalia and also Africa. Thanks to Suleiman, Dr. Suleiman, who have covered important issues in Africa, partly in Kenya. As we all know that Somalia and the rest of Africa have greater opportunity for agriculture, livestock, and the fishing sector. So I would like to share my screen.
Yes, we can see the screen.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sumitra, and thank you for everyone. Before I start my presentation, I just want to briefly show you the country profile of Somalia. Those who know is okay. Those who don't know, I would like to introduce the country that I come from, to the country that I'm in right now. The Federal Republic of Somalia is located in Eastern Africa and the Horn of Africa, bordering Djibouti, Ethiopia, and Kenya. The population is estimated roughly 14 million people by the World Bank, making it the 72nd most populous country. Mogadishu is our capital of Somalia, and also the most popular city in Somalia with approximately 2.4 million inhabitants. Somalis have their own language, which is Somali. We also have people who speak Arabic, and sometimes you will see some districts or villages in Somalia, some people who speak Italian and English. The religion of Somalia is Islam, mostly Sunni Muslim, and the state of the religion is Islam. That is the overview of the country, which I would like to show you over the presentation. As you may know, Somalia was one of the best countries in mid-17th, 18th, and we had broken our government in 1991. 2.5 decades of conflict, concentrated mainly in southern Somalia, showed destroyed much of the country's governance structure, including the economic structure. You know, following the collapse of the Siad Barre's government in January 1991, Somalia experienced deadly cycles of internal conflict that fragmented the country, undermined legitimate institutions, and created widespread vulnerability. The prolonged conflict transformed the economy, with many economic and political actors facing incentives to perpetuate conflict in order to sustain and divert associated revenue streams. When I'm saying that, Somalia was about to develop in 1991, but unfortunately, there was a coup and a collapse of that government. And as you may know, that was the time that the world is becoming booming, and that was the time the people were civilized and trying to develop their own states. Unfortunately, Somalia was experiencing at that time a deep cycle of internal conflict after civil war started in 1991. Due to that issues and problems, we had this kind of problem of having a lack of infrastructure and economic issues. So at that time, the the Somali economy is almost zero because of that conflict, and we became a conflict and fragmented country. So, as you know, Somalis are dependent on fisheries, livestock, and agriculture. So before 1991, the most promising and the best sector was agriculture, because the government at that time was helping the people to support them to have more influence to the agriculture issues. But lately, after insecurity started after 1991, even agriculture became vulnerable because of some militias at that time. So the number one promising sector right now is fishing sector, as we have a 3,333 kilometers coastline, and we are the number one best country who has the best coastline in the mainland of Africa. So due to that issue, this government and the previous government have been trying to focus only to support the fishing sector, since it's very secure and it could be generated more domestic revenues, and also can support and generate more jobs inside Somalia. The livestock is also a big part of the economic in Somalia, and it's been very crucial for Somalia to have that livestock. For the last 30 years, Somalis have been distributed millions of livestock to the Arab countries and also some countries of Africa, including Kenya and Ethiopia. Having livestock and fisheries and fish made us as a Somalis to survive those hard times that we had for the last 30 years. According to the last report for the Minister of Planning in Somalia and also the World Bank, Somalia's economy recovered in 2018 more than that we have ever expected. The real GDP grew by an estimated 2.8% up to 1.4% in 2017, but lower than the forecast of 3.2% growth in the previous indication. But having a strong government for the last 10 years became to generate more revenues inside Somalia, and we had managed to build our institutions that have been collapsed during the civil war. So while supply chain national accounts data are not available, other indicators point to agriculture and services are still in place in Somalia. But as you may know, Somalis have greater knowledge about business. The business are still working in Somalia, and one of the other sectors that have been supporting the economic development in Somalia was a remittance, where 70% of the local Somalis have been getting more cash from the abroad. As you know, many Somalis are abroad outside of the country that have been fled during the civil war. The financial, transport, telecommunications, and other services are still drivers for growth, and we have one of the best telecommunications in Somalia. Our internet is better than 49 countries in Africa, and we're still developing. But just to develop that all issues, we must have a common understanding about the peace and peaceful country. And we are trying to make sure that everybody has the right to have a peace. Therefore, we could develop our own economic development. So the government that I'm part of is trying to put more investment into the fisheries sector. And we have all decided to put more investment. Therefore, we can create more jobs to Somali people. As you know, the fisheries sector remains largely unexploited, partially due to the absence of good infrastructure for the post-harvest management of catches for the last 30 years. But for now, the government is investing infrastructure in most cities, coastal cities in Somalia, with more than 9 cities inside Somalia who will have efficient port processing facilities, who will be employed by many people, and also will have fishing industries inside the big cities. So the current sector priorities for this sector, we decided, and we know that this sector can support our economy as best as we can, as we want it, and it could be as fast as we do the priorities and the forms. So these are the current priorities for the sector. We want to support small-scale fishery through the co-management and skills development. We are also developing a human capital development and institutional capacity building, which has been started for 5 years ago, which is almost 10 years. We also strengthen our regulatory and strategic basis for fisheries management. One of the key priorities that we have right now is to import fish to the European countries, European markets that have been working with us for the last 3 years to just make sure that our regulations and legal frameworks are in place. We are doing this because Somalia had no background history with the fisheries. We are meat people. We use just livestock as the number one and agriculture as number second. But for now, we have realized that this fisheries sector could support for the economic of Somalia. So we're also doing infrastructure development. As I said, modern fish markets have been designed and it's about to start in 5 big cities in Somalia. And also we are trying to combat IUU in Somalia. There are a lot of opportunities for this sector. The reason I'm saying that, because we have the best coastline, the longest coastline in Africa, in mainland Africa. Rich coastal waters are a result of the seasonal upwelling that is driving for the more fish to come to Somalia, especially for the tuna and tuna-like species. Rich offshore waters on the route of migrating tuna stocks, a large youthful population willing to be trained and assisted. We have Somali youth are almost 75% in the population. Somalis have a lot of education and knowledge about entrepreneurial character, and they all willing to take risks in small business development. If you go Kenya, Ethiopia, or South Africa, you will see many people who are doing business there. We also have a strategic location that growing markets of Ethiopia and Kenya and close proximity to trading partners and routes of Middle East that could be supporting to the economic and currency status of Somalia. When I'm saying that, 70% of commercial maritime are crossed by Somalia and Indian Ocean, especially for Somalia and the Gulf of Aden, where we were locating. We still also have challenges about all these issues, but when it comes for our legal framework is still developing since starting the new government for 10 years ago. And our judiciary are reforming, our economic are reforming, and we still trying to put more investment to the fisheries, also agriculture, where livestock is still dominating the economic mainstays in Somalia. Thank you, and back to Sumitra.
Yeah, thank you so much, Abdullahi, for the wonderful presentation. So we will now take up some questions. And before I take up the questions which are there in the chat box and the Q&A section, I would also request the audience to put their questions in the chat box or the Q&A section. So both of my dear friends from Kenya and Somalia, Mr. Suleiman and Mr. Abdullahi, I would like to tell you that in India, we have the Farmers Empowerment and Protection Agreement on Price Assurance and Farm Services Act, 2020, which facilitates creating a national framework for contract farming through an agreement between a farmer and a buyer before the production or rearing of any farm produce. Do you have such a thing in Somalia, or do you have such a thing in Africa? Could you get my question? No?
Yes.
Okay, I think Suleiman has got it. Abdullahi, I'll come back to you. Yes, Suleiman.
So thank you so much for the question. And I think if I got it well, it's about an empowerment program that can guarantee farmers the prices of the ones they have produced from the farm. I think that's so. It's still underdeveloped. We have not been able to have a framework that is more or less like a guarantee scheme where first you have to ensure your produce before you plant. So such kind of a program currently is not in existence. And what we try to do at Agro Kenya as an organization, we try to encourage group farming concepts. So the group farming concept is where people work in groups. So we have organized farmers into a group of about 20. And then what we do, we have to guarantee the people who are in each group that once you have your produce, you can cross-sell to another group, so that every group has got a specialty. So if we have one group that is planting maize, we have another group that will be planting tomatoes, another group will be planting probably kales. So that by the time you produce, the market is not flooded, because the nature of agricultural products is that, particularly those that are dependent on rain, is that when you're producing maize, you find everybody's producing maize. So at the end of the harvest period, you have nowhere to sell the produce. So what we do and what we encourage our farmers is to do a specialized kind of arrangement that you don't all produce the same type of crop. So this particular farmer, depending on their level of skill and the size of the land, they'll produce this particular crop. And this particular farmer group will produce this particular group. And then now when they harvest, you can easily cross-sell to other group members, such that now your prices are guaranteed and your market is guaranteed. So in Kenya, we haven't been able to establish a national framework that could be able to engage farmers, particularly on contract farming, such that you are able to be able to produce while knowing that the market will be readily available.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I think, yes. Chairman, sir, would you like to take up questions? We have a question in the chat box and the Q&A section also.
That is not widely.
I can see, Chairman, sir. Today everybody is a bit busy, but we have question in the chat box, sir, and we also have a question in Q&A section. Chairman, sir, would you like to take up the question? Q&A section. So you can see one question in Q&A section. That the question is by Abraham Othino. Okay, so I think I cannot see Chairman sir on the camera. Aditya sir, would you like to take up the question? The question is there in the chat box and Q&A section.
Yes, thank you, Sumitra. I see this is Abraham Otiano.
Yes.
Yes, Abraham, thank you for your question. And I would like to try to answer this question on how has the country managed to tap into the foreign markets like the UAE, where they export more of their livestock. Yes, Somalia has been exporting livestock to UAE and Arab countries like Oman, Kuwait, and Bahrain, and Qatar is also additional for this year. But most importantly, we Somalia's #1 market for fisheries is now in Dubai, and we import almost 40 to 50 tons of fish every day, every week to Dubai. So it's a very good market for Somalia, and it was only a livestock market for now, but for now, it's also a fisheries. So UAE could be a #1 market in Somalia. Thank you so much.
Okay, now there is a question by Abdi Rahman Jama. He says, is there any influence and effect to African agriculture from the international NGOs? This question is for both of you, I think. Is there any effect of the international NGOs?
If I answer, I think Soiman is there who will have much information than me, but I will add a little bit information on this one. Thanks, Abdurrahman. You know, the agricultural activities in Africa is still booming, and it's growing whether it has an NGO or not for the whole Africa. If you go Kenya, the people are still depend on agriculture. If you come to Somalia, if you come to anywhere in Africa, they are still working. But for answering his question, there are still some NGOs who are supporting these people. Apparently, UN Food and Agriculture is #1, and there is other international NGOs who are supporting indirectly for this sector, which could be WFP, but most importantly, there are local NGOs who are doing much much support and much capacity building for the agricultural people, for agricultural community in Africa. I will give Suleiman for his expertise to answer this question.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'll try to respond to Abraham Ajama question, if there's any influence and effect to African agriculture from international NGOs. I will say it's yes, both positive and negative. In the positive side, I will say we've been able to get some support, financial support, particularly when it comes to purchase of the farm inputs for the farmers. We've had cases where farmers are able to get farm inputs quite easily from the international communities. So there have been that positive support into the farming. And then they have also been able to introduce new technologies and new farming systems that have been able to support these particular farmers. So in that regard, we've had a positive input from the international communities. We've also had a negative effect of these international NGOs as such that the African farmers have abandoned the traditional farming concepts. So they've thrown away the indigenous crops, they've thrown away the indigenous farming practices to welcome the new practices. And then they have skewed their practices to particular kind of crops, which is believed to be probably highly profitable. So the African farmer has been able now to abandon the traditional practices, nutritious crops, and effective farming practices that have been there for decades. So we've had this particular effect, and probably we as Agro-Kenya, what we try to do is we take back farmers to the indigenous crops and indigenous farming practices so that we try to keep our seeds, our practices, and our farming methods such that we don't actually have to abandon what we used to do before in the bid of trying to acquire new kind of practices. And then there was another question about how Agro-Kenya has been able to regulate crop farming to avoid flooding the market, well as the small farmers hold dear to maize farming. This actually has plant continuous. It's healthy to be consumed by the farmers, and actually they fetch more money on the market than the exotic ones. So we try to encourage the farmers to go back to their initial farming practices so that they can be able to produce more with the little resources they have with them. Thank you.
Yeah, so Mr. Suleiman and Mr. Abdullahi, in India, by virtue of the Farmers and the Farm Services Act of 2020, we provide a three-level dispute settlement mechanism by the Conciliation Board, Subdivisional Magistrate, and with the Appellate Authority. Do you have such a legal framework either in Kenya or in Somalia? Do you have such a framework? Maybe not national, but at the regional level or maybe at the level of the state, do you have that? Any conciliation mechanism?
So I will probably start. For us, there is a tribunal that actually helps to address farming and farmer-related kind of disputes. And we even have localized kind of a tribunal that it's usually led by the local village elder groups. So these kind of groups, they help engage with farmers who have got disputes regarding different types of farming activities. And it has been actually been able to help address some of these challenges we face at the rural level. At the national level, we actually don't have really an established set of a mechanism that addresses particularly the issues to do with small-scale farmers, but we have an extended framework at the local level that actually supports these particular farmers. Thank you.
Okay, Abdullahi, this question is for you, and it has come in the chat box with by Miss Hillary Kiplimo. She says that she is asking, what are the options for farmers when input costs are extremely high compared to the returns they get from the sale of the produce in regards to maize farming in Kenya? I think again, Suleiman will have to take this up. Did you get the question in the chat box by Hillary Kiplimo?
Yes, yes, I got it. Now, just like I shared before, maize farming in Kenya is quite expensive because it requires a lot of input, a lot of monitoring, and people have actually their farming minds have been skewed towards maize farming, and they've forgotten about all other crops. And what we try to do is we try to encourage farmers to plant other types of crops, and which are quite profitable. Like today in Kenya, 1 kg of maize will actually go for around $0.8 per tin. And then if you had cassava, you'll actually sell that 1 kg at $1, which is quite, you fetch more when you plant cassava than when you plant maize. Then now if you look at the cost input for planting cassava, is almost zero. They don't usually require manure or fertilizer. They don't usually require frequent weeding. They're not easily attacked by pests. But then people have just been having the syndrome that you must have maize, must have maize every day. So what we try to do is we try to encourage people to look at the alternative farming crops, and cassava is one of them. African indigenous vegetables, we have the black nightshade, we have the cowpeas, and these are very nutritious crops and they are very marketable at the marketplace. So we try to encourage farmers to shift from the maize mindset and move to the other alternative farming practices and crops.
Yeah, thank you. Now there is one question by our student Vanini. She is asking, both in Somalia and Kenya, how much focus is put on the women empowerment and how much is the role of women in the economic growth? The question is to both of you.
Yeah, if I went first, I will say farming in Kenya is purely on small scale basis, and you find the most laborers, the people who work on the farm in Kenya, mostly are usually women and children. That the most common people who work on the farm. So you find if you want to empower farming, if you want to have enhanced production, if you want to have access to finances and access to inputs, are supposed to be women. So what we try to do, we try to work with the women farmers, particularly in the rural areas, because more than 80% of farm labor is from this particular segment of farmers. So we try to empower them, we try to give them the skills and the necessary technologies so that they can be able to help support food production systems. So we do a lot of empowerment activities to these particular farmers so that we encourage the food production. I don't know what happens in Somalia, Abdi.
Abdullahi, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your answer, Suleiman. It seems Somalia and Kenya have no differences in that area. And when it comes to agriculture here in Somalia, our women has a big role for farming, especially for the southern areas, and they are the ones who are the backbone for the agriculture activities, and from the starting value chain, starting to the end of the product, they are part of it, and it's not even possible to have agricultural or farming activity without the women. So Somalis are very keen for this area and for this sector. That is my concept and understanding.
Yeah. Abdullahi, there is one more question. I think, yes, that is especially for you. It is there in the chat box asked by our student Vanini. She's talking about pirates. Pirates in the sea surrounding Somalia are a huge dissuading factor to foreign traders. How is Somalia working to counter this huge problem?
Thank you. I have seen this answer, and it makes sense to answer this time. I have been working for a big project, which is a regional project for it's called Coastal Community Against Piracy, and we have been trying to support all coastal communities around the area of the piracies, and we have been helping them for getting another livelihood instead of going to sea and becoming a pirate. And fortunately, this is the good news I think I will share with Fanini. There were no one single incident for pirates for the last 2 years, which is a very impressive when it comes to the Somalia. It's almost a zero, but we still trying to make sure that the coastal cities population have uh, have active involvement in the fishing sector instead of becoming a pirates, and they have been taking that concept for the last 2 years, and they are now avoiding and taking one step ahead, and they have been fighting with the pirates for the last 2 years. Therefore, there is no one single incident of pirates for the last 2 years, and the commercial maritime ships are going back and forth, and we're also feeling a little bit comfortable about that. I think it covers all. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Abdullahi. I think this will be the last question that I have. Well, this question is for both of our dear international friends, Abdullahi and Suleiman. In India, in the year 2020, we've got another act which is called as the Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Act. This permits interstate and intrastate trade of farmers' produce beyond the physical premises of Agricultural Produce Market Committee. So, do you have such kind of an ecosystem in Somalia and Kenya? Do you promote interstate and intrastate facilitation of trade produce under the legal framework of the country?
Yes, let me go first. I will give Suleiman later. Yes, for us, we have it, and our Minister of Agriculture and irrigation have been working on that for the actors on inter-state measures, and also working closely with the private sector communities. And for that area, Somalia is taking easy doing of business of facilitating all the agricultural activities, whether it came from Kenya or Ethiopia, and it's almost international at this time. We have a deal with Turkey and Saudi Arabia right now, which is to facilitate all the agricultural productions and producers. Therefore, they could have interaction with their colleagues and counterparts. I give Suleiman the floor.
Thank you so much, Abdi, and thank you so much, Sumitra, for the question. In Kenya, since 2013, we have a devolved system of government where we have 47 county governments, and we've had efforts under the Ministry of Agriculture to support county governments to work with other county governments to ensure that there's enough food production for the countries. So we have trade blocks within counties. So counties near the neighbor counties usually form a trade block, and this trade block is usually used to enhance food production in that particular region and exchange this particular product with other county blocks which are probably producing a different type of produce. So I would say, yes, we have this particular system that supports inter-county agricultural activity support activities that can enable counties that are, say, we have the coastal counties which usually engage more in fish and probably marine kind of business. We have those that are agricultural based, particularly the western counties. So the western counties produce agricultural produce, and these produce are usually supported to or shared with the counties that are producing probably fish and the rest of the particular product. So yes, I would say we have this particular arrangement, and it's quite useful for the inter-county trade activities.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think, today we are getting many questions. All right, so I think I will share the email addresses of dear friend Abdullahi and Suleiman with all the attendees, and perhaps I know both of you remain very busy working with the government and also at the international level. So thank you so much for being here. Before we wind up, for all your beautiful deliberations that we had today, Abdullahi and Suleiman, I will now request our dear director and head of the institution, joint head of the institution, Dr. Aditya Tomar sir, to speak a few words.
I'd
Aditya
just like
sir,
to join
can
us. These were the words. And am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay. I just like to thank to Mr. Abdi and Mr. Suleiman that they can spare their valuable time to interact with our students. So hopefully it would not be our last meeting, and we will meet again. And I invite you on behalf of my chairman, Dr. D.K. Bandyopadhyay, Amity University, and my faculty colleagues, whenever you visit to India, you are most welcome to visit to Amity University, Noida. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Chairman sir has also, I can see Chairman sir also on camera now. Chairman sir, before we depart from this platform, would you like to speak a few words, Chairman sir?
I can appreciate the efforts and the deliberation that has been made by Mr. Suleiman and Mr. Abdullah, bringing the economic dimensions of Somalia and Kenya, and especially the agricultural economics dimension that was really, really very praiseworthy. And India essentially has dealt with this type of problem in the past. Now we are really going ahead with the new types of agricultural reforms or agricultural policies, and hopefully through that process what we are really trying to do is in terms of taking away the middleman. And this middleman actually is creating lots of a problem. So this government has thought it over and it is going ahead in terms of changing the new policy for the farmers, especially for the farmers. Now, really, and the question answer session went on very well. I am sorry I could not be present throughout because as I mentioned, we are terribly busy in terms of planning our examination process, and even I am not in my office. I am sitting somewhere else. So I could not really have the proper gadget in terms of interfacing you. What I have logged in from my mobile. And the problem of logging in through the mobile is that it is very difficult to see the charts. It is very difficult to see the questions. However, I can see the speaker, but I must appreciate the way you have answered with the clarity, and that's most important thing. And it will be very beneficial for our students, and students will also be looking forward to make a comparative study between the economic planning and policies, especially the agriculture planning and policy, a comparative study both in Kenya and Somalia. I think these are the two countries which people are looking forward. Mostly all the all the African countries people are looking forward, because that is the second way of development that is going to come. That is the second way of economic growth going to come. That is the second way of having a new business, having a new opportunity that is going to come. So in that respect, that you have created interest among the students. Now let us plan for our future activity, that how we should relate Kenya and Somalia with Amity, because that's the most important thing. Otherwise, this will remain as 1.5 hours spending by you, very valuable time of yours, with the students of Amity and also with us. So we have to take it further. We have to see what best can be done in terms of actualizing our internationalization efforts, which will bring benefits, and I believe which will bring benefits to both three of the country, Kenya, Somalia, and India. And once again, I must thank that we shall be in touch with you over mail, and we shall be seeing that what is that we can do each other in terms of the projects by the students, project for the government, projects for the research scholars, and so on and so forth. And we are all the time ready for taking up such type of responsibilities or assignments, and our students will love to do it. And same way, and we shall also to see how best you can also be involved with our Amity. I mean, this is the thing that we like to take it further, because otherwise, and as I mentioned already, it should not remain as a piece of lecture that you have delivered and bringing forth your country's perspective. Very, very, very what's stated lecture. But again and again, I'm telling, we have to take it to further. Then and then, your efforts, our efforts will bring international award to Amity and Amity to the international world. So with these few words, once again, I thank you very much for agreeing to be coming over here and giving your experiential learning and experiential deliberations to the students of Amity. And they will be essentially indebted to you for giving some value addition about these two countries. So thank you very much, Mr. Abdullah and Mr. Solomon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman Sir, Professor Dr. D.K. Bandyopadhyay, for your wonderful words. Well, dear friends, Abdullahi and Suleiman from Somalia and Kenya, I would like to tell you that Amity Law School is the largest law school in Asia, and that is why we believe that we've got a greater responsibility on our shoulders in order to foster friendship beyond borders, and also for the cause of not just our society, but for the cause of the global society. And before I bid adieu to this platform, I remember the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, who, while in South Africa, said, "It doesn't matter when you stop doing the right thing. But what matters is what results come from your own action. You yourself will have to come forward and take the action forward. And today, your presence at this platform at Amity welcomes you wholeheartedly. It's said that once an Amity and always an Amity. And the outcome of this international lecture series is taking Amity to the world and bringing the world to Amity. So I think we have taken a step further in fostering friendship beyond borders. So now, Abdullahi and Suleiman, you are a part of the Amity family, though virtually. You always have high regards and a place in our hearts. Thank you for being our friends. And finally, if you would like to say something to all those who are watching you live on YouTube, you're most welcome. And then we sign off from this platform. Over to you, Abdullahi and Suleiman.
Okay, thank you so much, Sumitra, for the wonderful message that you've given us. And something that I have not mentioned before in my presentation is that Agro Kenya, we work with universities in Europe and in Kenya in particular. So we've had collaborations with 3 German universities and 3 local universities here in Kenya. So we are working as a consortium of 6 universities and Agro Kenya. So it's something that will be eager and glad to extend even to Amity so that we can establish a collaboration with you and see how we can.
Wow, that's really lovely. Thank you so much.
Engagement.
And Abdullahi, can we have some lines from you too before we depart from this platform?
Yes, I can see you are hurrying. I just want to say thank you for thank you for Amity University. I feel at home. I feel I'm just at home at Amity University. I'll take the message to other colleagues in the ministry and Somali people. Thank you so much, and looking forward to having another working session just like that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aditya sir. Thank you, everybody watching us live on Zoom and YouTube. So this was one of the lectures in our ongoing international lecture series. So we will see you shortly at another platform. Till then, this is Sumitra signing off from Amity University. Bye-bye, everybody. Take care, stay safe, stay healthy. Bye-bye.